A swimming pool is meant for relaxation, fun, and maybe a few poolside barbecues. But what happens when wild animals decide to take a dip? From fearsome reptiles to majestic mammals, these surprise visitors have turned ordinary backyards into wildlife adventure zones. Let's dive into some of the most shocking, heart-pounding, and even hilarious moments when nature decided to make itself at home in someone's pool. A lizard's narrow escape from a snake's jaws. Sometimes a backyard pool isn't just a place for swimming. It becomes the setting for an intense battle of survival. In one jaw-dropping moment captured on video, a small lizard was seen basking near the edge of a pool, completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. At first, the snake was nearly invisible, blending in with its surroundings. But as the person filming zoomed in, it became clear. The predator was watching, waiting, and ready to strike. The moment the lizard realized the snake was there, the chase was on. It dashed toward the water, hoping to escape, but the snake wasn't about to give up. It launched itself into the pool, its sleek body cutting through the water in pursuit of its next meal. For a few intense moments, the scene played out like something from a nature documentary. The lizard swam frantically, zigzagging through the water, while the snake moved swiftly, closing the distance. But just when it seemed like the lizard was doomed, it made a miraculous getaway, paddling toward the pool's edge and vanishing to safety. The unexpected twist? The snake, possibly frustrated by losing its prey, turned its attention toward the person filming. Just as it seemed like it was preparing to strike, the video cut off. A 13-foot python found lounging in a backyard pool. Imagine stepping outside for a morning swim only to find a massive Burmese python stretched out across the water, as if it owned the place. That's exactly what happened to a homeowner in Palmetto Bay, Florida, who discovered a 13-foot-long Burmese python lounging in their pool. The snake, a non-native species, had likely slithered into the water seeking a cool retreat from the Florida heat. Wildlife officials quickly arrived to handle the situation, but removing a snake of this size was no simple task. Burmese pythons are strong, heavy, and incredibly resilient, with some growing up to 26 feet long and weighing over 200 pounds. In fact, it took a team of professionals to carefully wrangle the python out of the pool. Captain Jeffrey Fobb of the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue's Venom Response Bureau later confirmed that the snake would be used for educational purposes, helping officials prepare for future captures. The most chilling part of this encounter? The python was found far from the Everglades, where these snakes are typically found. This suggests that it was possibly an escaped or abandoned pet, highlighting the dangers of keeping exotic reptiles illegally. Party pools are meant for cooling off, but what happens when a 2,000-pound buffalo decides it's his turn to take a swim? A Georgia family got the shock of a lifetime when they stepped outside and saw a huge buffalo standing chest-deep in their backyard pool. The animal, which had likely escaped from a nearby farm, had wandered into the neighborhood before stumbling upon what it must have thought was the perfect watering hole. At first, the homeowners were at a loss. How do you get a buffalo out of a pool? They tried tying a rope around its horns to guide it toward the steps, but the sheer weight of the animal made it a challenging task. Each time the buffalo attempted to climb out, it slipped back in, visibly frustrated. After several failed attempts, neighbors joined in to help. Eventually, after careful maneuvering and a lot of patience, the buffalo was finally coaxed out of the water. The homeowners later learned that a local farmer had been searching for his lost buffalo for days. A bear family's backyard vacation. Some people travel to the mountains to see bears, but one Tennessee homeowner didn't have to go anywhere. The bears came to her. In August 2016, Cindy Duro rented a home in Gatlinburg for a family reunion. But the real guests of honor turned out to be a mother bear and her two cubs, who visited the property almost every evening. Their favorite activity? Jumping into the pool and having a blast. Cindy managed to capture footage of the bears splashing, playing, and even floating in the water. The scene was almost surreal. The bears seemed to be having the time of their lives, completely unbothered by human presence. While the idea of a wild bear in a swimming pool might sound dangerous, Cindy and her family made sure to keep their distance. Since the bears were simply cooling off and not showing aggression, they allowed them to enjoy their swim before they eventually wandered back into the woods. Not all unexpected pool guests are big and terrifying. Some are just adorable. At a swimming complex in Singapore, visitors were treated to an unexpected surprise when a tiny turtle was spotted swimming around, completely undisturbed. The little reptile seemed to be having the time of its life, paddling through the water at impressive speed. The best part? Since no one else was in the pool, the turtle had the entire place to itself. While some people wondered whether the chlorinated water could affect the turtle, it didn't seem bothered at all. In fact, it moved so quickly that some joked about racing it. This moment was a rare reminder of how even the smallest creatures can bring joy, especially when they unexpectedly pop up in our everyday lives. If there's one thing Florida is famous for, it's alligators showing up in the most unexpected places. And a backyard pool is no exception. One Orlando homeowner experienced this firsthand when they walked outside on a Tuesday morning and spotted a 6-foot alligator at the bottom of their pool. Wildlife officials were called in to handle the situation, but the gator wasn't in any hurry to leave. It calmly floated around completely at ease, as if it had found the perfect spot to spend the day. Firefighters and a trained trapper were eventually able to lasso the alligator and safely remove it. While it was successfully relocated, it left behind a clear lesson. If you live in Florida, always check your pool before jumping in. As the scorching summer heat set in, people weren't the only ones looking for ways to cool off. In one town, a young deer found an unconventional way to beat the heat by sneaking into Brittany Benacasa's backyard and taking a dip in her pool. This became a regular occurrence, with the deer returning almost daily to enjoy the refreshing water. One day, Brittany came home to find the deer soaking wet, standing beside the pool. Concerned, she contacted animal control and an officer escorted the little visitor out. However, a few days later, the determined deer found its way back through a gap in the fence and was once again floating in the pool, completely unbothered. Fortunately, the pool used a salt-based treatment rather than chlorine, making it less harmful to wildlife. Rather than trying to keep the deer out, the family decided to embrace their unusual guest, figuring that it would eventually grow too large to squeeze under the fence. Now they have a great story to tell, and the deer has a favorite cooling spot, at least for now. In Sweden, a dramatic rescue unfolded when a full-grown elk fell into a residential swimming pool. The large animal, weighing about 600 kilograms, over 1,300 pounds, had likely been searching for fallen fruit when it accidentally stepped onto a pool cover, mistaking it for solid ground. The cover gave way, plunging the elk into the water. Wildlife Officer Johansson was sent to assess the situation, prepared to make a tough call if the elk had suffered serious injuries. Fortunately, the elk was unharmed, but getting it out of the pool was no easy task. A team of 7 emergency responders worked together using ladders and ropes in an exhausting tug-of-war to free the massive animal. At one point, the elk even slipped back into the pool, adding to the chaos. Eventually, it was successfully pulled out, though it bolted in fear with a rope still dangling around its neck. Like the elk, a horse found itself in a tough situation after falling into a backyard pool. Large animals struggle to climb out of pools due to their weight and the height of the pool walls, making human intervention crucial. In this case, an emergency rescue crew and a team of firefighters were called in to assist. To prevent the horse from injuring itself in a panic, they made the decision to sedate it before attempting to lift it out. The operation involved a pulley system and a harness, carefully lifting the heavy animal to safety. Once the horse was out, it was laid on towels and prepped for transport. While the owner must have been anxious throughout the ordeal, there's no doubt the horse was relieved to be out of the water and back on solid ground. During filming for the ITV show Wild at Heart, the production team had an unexpected visitor, a giraffe that accidentally wandered onto the set and ended up in a swimming pool. The 14-month pregnant giraffe named Lucy had managed to slip past a fence and onto the set, where she presumably leaned down to take a drink and lost her footing. With its long legs and towering frame, getting out of the pool on its own was nearly impossible. The crew first tried lowering the water level and creating makeshift stairs using sandbags, but they worried the giraffe might slip and injure itself. Eventually, firefighters were called in to dig an exit ramp while using food to lure Lucy out. After 3 long hours, the giraffe finally walked to safety, completely unharmed, and likely wondering how she ended up in such a predicament. A basement full of Sharks authorities conducting a search warrant at a house in LaGrangeville, New York, expected to find illegal wildlife. What they didn't expect was an entire collection of sharks inside a basement pool. Inside the 15-foot above-ground pool, officers discovered 7 live sandbar sharks, along with 2 dead leopard sharks and a dead hammerhead shark. A local expert who had investigated thousands of cases was stunned. Wild exotic animals like crocodiles, snakes, and stingrays are sometimes found in private homes. Sharks were unheard of. The homeowner had not yet been charged at the time, but experts speculated the sharks were being bred for illegal sale to collectors. Since sand tiger sharks are a federally protected species, owning them without a special permit is against the law. Officials carefully removed the sharks using nets and transported them to the Long Island Aquarium, where they were quarantined and treated. Given that sand tiger sharks can grow up to 9 feet long, they were definitely not meant for a private collection, especially not in a basement. A hippo's uninvited stay one family in Botswana woke up to a shocking sight. A 3-ton hippo lounging in their backyard pool. The night watchman had spotted the enormous animal in the early hours of December 31st, but the hippo seemed completely at ease, floating peacefully in the water. Brent Reed, a safari director, captured the surreal moment as his young son and a friend observed the massive creature from a safe distance. Given how dangerous hippos can be, capable of crushing crocodiles with their powerful jaws, this was not an ordinary backyard visitor. Reed explained that the summer of 2018 had been particularly hot and dry, leaving water sources scarce. With nearby rivers dried up, the hippo likely saw the family's pool as the perfect place to cool off. The hippo remained in the pool for hours before finally climbing out on its own. However, the family awoke the next morning to find the massive animal grazing outside their bedroom window. Once the unexpected guest finally left, the pool required a massive cleanup operation. But at least they had an unforgettable New Year's story. The Frog Log swimming pools are great for keeping cool in the summer, but for small backyard creatures, they can be deadly traps. Wildlife scientist Rich Mason set out to change that with his innovative creation, the Frog Log. The idea came to him in June 2004 when friends in Baltimore, Maryland, called him with a troubling discovery. They had just installed a swimming pool on their forested property and found frogs drowning in it. Mason, disturbed by the situation, decided to create a simple but effective solution. His invention consists of an inflatable platform with a mesh ramp and a weighted pouch that anchors it to the pool's edge. This setup provides stranded animals with an easy escape route. Handmade from fabric and foam, the Frog Log quickly gained popularity. When featured by The Dodo, it received over 68,000 likes and widespread praise. Now, thanks to Mason's ingenuity, countless small creatures have a second chance at survival. Sometimes animals just need to cool off in the summer heat. Other times, their attempts at relief turn into dangerous situations, like what happened to a small owl in southern Spain. During a heatwave in early August, a breeding male barn owl decided to take a dip in a nearby swimming pool. However, once inside, the steep pool walls prevented him from climbing out, putting him at risk of drowning. Luckily, a family noticed the struggling bird and used a broom to carefully pull him to safety. Barn owls have delicate feathers that absorb water, making it difficult for them to escape from enclosed water sources like pools or troughs. Many don't survive such accidents, but this lucky owl did. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing animal connections.